Hi, Ms. J. Today, I'd like to share how one leader influenced me personally and professionally by choosing values over comfort. That leader is Aung San Suu Kyi, whom we lovingly call Amesu. She is the 1991 Nobel Peace Prize laureate for her nonviolent struggle for democracy and the most enduring symbol of Myanmar's fight for freedom. For standing firmly by democratic values, she was unjustly detained for more than 20 years through imprisonment and house arrest. During those years, she was separated from her children, she was separated from her family, and she was even denied the chance to see her husband before he passed away. Yet, she chose this path. She chose sacrifice for one belief that Myanmar deserved democracy and dignity. In 2015, she led our country's first freely elected civilian government in decades. But in February 2021, the military staged another coup, arrested her again, and she remains in prison today. When she was taken away, our nation wept. At the time, I was a young entrepreneur and public figure in Myanmar. I had success, recognition, and security. But watching her choose sacrifice for her value forced me to ask myself a difficult question. What kind of leader do I want to be? Inspired by her courage, I chose to speak out for democracy and human rights. That decision cost me my career and my safety. I was targeted and forced to flee Myanmar as a political refugee. For me, leaving Myanmar was not heroic. It was painful, confusing, and honestly, it was frightening. I had to leave my family, my work, and the life I had spent years building. There were many moments when I asked myself if speaking out was really worth losing everything. But whenever doubt crept in, I thought of her choice. If she could endure decades for imprisonment for her values, then I knew I could endure exile without giving up mine. Her life taught me that leadership is not about winning. It is about choosing what is right, even when it costs everything. Aung San Suu Kyi demonstrated leadership techniques that completely reshaped my understanding of leadership. First, she embodied moral courage. She didn't compromise her values, even when silence would have secured her freedom. Her leadership was guided by conscience, not convenience. Second, she demonstrated extraordinary resilience. Imagine spending years confined to your home, cut off from the people you love, knowing that your suffering might not bring immediate results. Yet she endured, not with bitterness, but with dignity. That taught me that resilience is not loud resistance, but quiet endurance. Third, she practiced people-centered and servant leadership. She treated ordinary citizens with respect and humility. She listened more than she commanded, and even toward political opponents. She avoided hatred and dehumanization. As a national leader, she emphasized responsibility to the people rather than authority over them. Through her example, I learned that true leadership is not measured by success or recognition, but by the willingness to choose sacrifice in service of others. From her life, I learned two leadership best practices that continue to guide my own work. The first is leading by personal example. Aung San Suu Kyi never asked others to risk more than she was willing to risk herself. This consistency between values and actions built deep trust and moral legitimacy among the people he led. That lessons shaped how I responded to exile. Even after losing everything, I refused to abandon my responsibility to my people. The second best practice is investing in education as a long-term strategy for freedom. During her time leading the country, she emphasized gradual reform, institutions building, and education rather than quick or symbolic victories. She understood that democracy requires educated, humane citizens and strong civil values. This belief directly inspired me to found New Generation Myanmar, an online school serving thousands of students affected by conflict and displacement, ensuring learning continues despite civil war and instability. When political leadership was taken away from us, education became my way to continue contributing meaningfully. For me, education is not separate from leadership. It is leadership. One powerful positive outcome of Aung San Suu Kyi's influence is that it transformed my pain into purpose. Recently, I watched her video message accepting her honorary degree from Johns Hopkins University in 2012. In that speech, she expressed hope that one day Burmese youth will study here at Johns Hopkins to promote human letters and human values. Today, her vision has become my reality. As a refugee who was persecuted and forced to flee Myanmar, leaving behind everything I love, and now a Burmese graduate student at Johns Hopkins University, I was deeply moved to realize that I am part of the future she once imagined. My presence here is not just a personal achievement. It represents the resilience and aspirations of a generation shaped by conflict, displacement, and limited access to education. I carry with me the hopes of young people in Myanmar who still face barriers to freedom and learning. This moment affirms that education is not a privilege reserved for a few. It is a shared hope, a collective responsibility, and a quiet revolution. Because of Aung San Suu Kyi, I learned that leadership requires resilience, education creates freedom, and hope must be protected, even in the darkest times. Thank you.